Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all those joining us from around the globe, and welcome to a CX Moment. My name is Natasha Chikara from Zendesk, and today we're about to dive into all things CX at Inovalon. We'll talk about leveraging your data for robust help centers, how resolution times are critical to support nurses and patients for reliable patient health care, and how CX agents require reliable tools and platforms for both agility and speed. A CX moment is really about you, our audience, and we love getting your questions. So please be sure to pop those into the chat wherever you're joining us from today, whether it's here in our virtual studio or on LinkedIn. And if you like what you're seeing and hearing, be sure to share on our social channels using the hashtag CX Moments. Today, we are joined by Brian Blumenthal, AVP of Customer Support at Inovalon, who happens to also be one of the first customers I got to meet in person during my time here at Zendesk. Welcome, Brian.
Hi, Natasha. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you as well. And we are excited to have you sharing with us all things that you've been doing at Inovalon with regards to your CX practice. I want to start off with having you set the scene for us. Tell us a little bit about Inovalon, what you do, and how your support center is structured.
Absolutely. From an Inovalon standpoint, we have multiple different facets to really help our health plans or health payers improve healthcare for us as citizens, as members, if you will, which I can really get behind that because being a consumer of the healthcare industry, I'm a patient too. So everything that we do from a big data standpoint, we actually collect big data to help our payers operate more efficiently while improving health plan outcomes for the members. So I'm helping myself every day and my family.
That is awesome. And with that, I'm sure, working in a very heavily regulated industry, there's a lot of things and complexities that you're navigating. How does that impact, your customer support and where you're always iterating your focus and efforts for building out your strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, from a regulation standpoint, personal health information is key. We take the approach of minimal necessary information. So from a support standpoint, we can be inundated with all sorts of PHI, but we've taken the stance that PHI is TMI. Let's keep that at the person's level. We don't need to know that. We're technical support. Give us the minimal amount of information that we need to solve the problem. And thanks to Zendesk and some tools we've integrated, we can do that. We just need a little bit here and there, and we can diagnose the problem and help get the nurses on their way or get our payer members and data analysts on their way as well.
How are you thinking about things like, timeliness, being this kind of notion of being a 24/7 team, and the way you're thinking about also self-service?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a great question because one of the things that we do, part of our service, or if you will, from a data standpoint, at the end of the day, Inovalon collects a lot of information from both members, from health plans. We do a lot of analysis on that. And part of that data collection, we have an army of nurses. We have about 2,000 nurses out in the field that are actually in patients' homes, interacting with the patient and doing an assessment on them, which is a different story. We'll probably get to it later on. But with that being said, we try to put, from a support perspective, we put our feet in their shoes. Understand that, especially here in Texas, and I see some people shout out to those on the invite from Brazil to Texas and all those other hot places that we've got going on. But if you think about it, if a nurse is in somebody's house, it's already an uncomfortable situation, right? They're in, it's a stranger in your house. And if they have any technical issues, we know we need to get them on and get them off. As you can imagine, they're there with possibly a geriatric patient, somebody who's in their 80s, who might have dementia and other things. And the nurse is struggling with some technology on her laptop. We've got to be able to help them out as quick as possible. So from a rapid response standpoint, the minute we pick up that phone or we get a chat from the provider, we've got to be Johnny on the spot and try to get them on and off as best we can, and also have a good bedside manner while we're doing it, even for our providers. They need bedside manner just as much as they give it.
How does that connect to, the strategy that you then build out with that agility? Like, what are some of the key things that you are thinking about?
Absolutely. I'll just give you one example from an Okta standpoint. We converted one of our older applications to where it goes through Okta, just a multi-factor authentication. And again, it's one of those things. If you're struggling just signing into the application, we need to be able to respond to that. But on the other side, as a support leader, I also need to keep risk out of my business. I just can't open up administrative privileges to Okta to everybody on my team. I need to keep them safe by giving them, again, minimal necessary information. So one of the things that we did, thanks to the help of one of my level 3 agents, Ryan, he's an absolutely incredible person, APIs to APIs. From a Zendesk standpoint, using the Sunshine environment, using the API connections, we simply built an app. It wasn't that hard. We simply connected it to Okta. And again, minimal information. The app is only available when somebody opens up a ticket related to multi-factor authentication. We can use minimal information and help that person out in the moment. And while doing it, we can document in the ticket what they did. So what actions they did. So I have full audit controls for my agents, what they do. It provides them rapid response. And from a learning curve standpoint, it's one single field that you type in the user's name, click a couple of buttons and done. I didn't have to train everybody on admin privileges in Okta. I didn't have to worry about somebody going too far with these admin privileges. Took risk out of my business, rapid response, simple API connection between Zendesk and Okta, and we were off and running.
I love that. I'd actually love to drill a little bit more deeper into this rapid response and learning a little bit more about how you're thinking about automation with building out some of those rapid responses.
Yeah, from an automation standpoint, we had a situation. It's very compliance, and not to bore everybody with compliance issues, very heavy in compliance. But what we ended up doing is there was a particular task that we have to do for our providers. Say, for example, there's an assessment that needs an adjustment to it. That assessment cannot be adjusted after the fact. We have to go through approvals. We have to review it. Why does it need to be adjusted? What's being adjusted? Was it just maybe they had a Wi-Fi issue when they were putting it in and didn't get to finish the note, right? So with that being said, that particular task would go through my level 1 team, through my level 2 team, all the way up to level 3. And it was painful. It was time consuming. It was as they say, the longest pole in the tent. Well, thanks to Zendesk, a couple of automation things, we wanted to put in the variables, have it go through the process, including notifying compliance, getting their approval, having them put their thumbprint on it, if you will, to say they approved it, recording that back in the ticket, and all doing that as easy as possible. We literally removed 700 hours of operating time down to 5 minutes. It's a couple of data collections, a couple of clicks inside of Zendesk. The process runs in the background. It notifies everybody, a perfect relay of handling the customer situation, and we're done. But I got 700 hours back out of my team from a capacity standpoint. Now I could take on more workload, and I was able to scale.
Wow, that, truly is immeasurable impact, it sounds like, for your agent productivity and your team's productivity.
Absolutely. And I gained friends in compliance because it actually created a better auditable process for them. So, hey, if you can make friends with compliance, you're in good status.
Word to the wise for everyone listening in: make friends with compliance and try to get 700 hours back for your team. It's no secret that in today's day and age, data is exploding even more so in healthcare. So Inovalon, you guys capture and analyze a ton of data. And it's not just about collecting that data. It's really about how can you extract value and insights to inform your health center, more on the, self-service. And it can be daunting for a lot of the folks that are dialed in, or just anyone who's looking on, well, where do I find these efficiencies and where do I start? So what advice would you have for someone that's really just starting to leverage their data? What are some of the core metrics that you are, can't live without to be able to run your business and scale effectively?
Yeah, absolutely. From a data standpoint, I'm a self-proclaimed data hamster. I'll get on that wheel and I'll spin around and around and around. I've been dealing with big data for many, many years in multiple different jobs. And with that being said, Zendesk, I love the fact that I have Explorer, right? There's the good and the bad. The good is that there's all sorts of data that you can scramble around in. The bad is you really have to think about what data you want to collect. But you know what? You can experiment and learn rapidly. That's one of our core values that we have. And we do just that. Sometimes we have our form, we have our tags, we have our data collection points. Sometimes it's enough. Other times we didn't put enough information in there. So we try to augment that. But one of the things from a mission standpoint, my mission is simple: rapid response, obviously, for what I explained before, high level of customer satisfaction. Our providers, the healthcare community, works so hard, especially the past couple of years. Shout out to everybody who's in healthcare and all that they go through every single day. So customer satisfaction is paramount. And then from a valuable insight standpoint, to your point, I need to be able to extract valuable insights. That scenario where I gained 700 hours back, it was because we measured how much time this process took. I can see from a Zendesk standpoint, going into Explore, I can see handoffs between level 1 to level 2 to level 3. How long did it take? And really my metric of choice is request or wait time. How much time? And we also have from a measurement standpoint, how much time did it take for the agent to work on that task? So request or wait time. And then I use our time tracker to measure the gravity of it. You can have a low volume of tickets, but it can take a massive amount of time. And I call those truckloads, right? And depending on how many trucks that we have, truckloads of effort that we have to do, that's key. So I actually have those metrics that track how much time did it take, request or wait time, CSAT. Everybody knows we review this every single day. I'm running over 97, almost 98% satisfaction rate for 2 years running. I can't be more proud of my team for having that great bedside manner and rapid response. But CSAT tells you everything. And our comments, by the way, we have a 24% response rate on satisfaction. And the comments, 33% of all the satisfaction surveys that we get all have comments in them.
Wow.
Mine those comments, both good and bad. We actually have a whole automated process that if somebody leaves a bad comment, it opens up a ticket. It assigns it to our managers, and our managers immediately respond to that so that we can track how many times we have bad surveys and what to do with it.
And then I bet you can even track on top of that, okay, from all these comments that created cases, what was the resolution and change in sentiment?
Yes. And that's, it's change in sentiment, and that's where we tie in from our customer experience standpoint. But it's also one of the things I've always wanted to do is, so what? I'm a consumer. I give you a bad survey. What are you doing with that survey? We follow up on every single one of them. But in my ticketing automation process that I created, we actually have a process that says, are we initiating a project as a result of it? So the start of the comment that created this process, usually there's huge gaps and, things get disconnected. I want to make sure that if you, Natasha, had a bad comment for whatever reason, or just a suggestion for improvement, if we initiated a whole project as a result of that, I'm following up with you and letting you know the entire experience because you were the one that helped us out. And we have another value called making us awesome. Good comments, bad comments, it does make us awesome. We improve every single day.
I love that. And it's that kind of mentality of not sticking your head in the sand sometimes when these coming up, closing that loop is just so critical for just creating the best experience and driving that retention.
Absolutely.
Just from an overall perspective, what are some of the core things that you're measuring success by for, the business that you run, Brian, within your organization? Like, what would you say those top 3 factors are? I know we've kind of spoken to it in different bits and pieces, but if we could just kind of summarize those things, I think it would be good to know for all of our service leaders and care leaders that are on the call today to just kind of get a check-in of okay, am I thinking about the right things? What are other leaders thinking about? I think it would be good to just kind of hear that.
Yeah. And I'm going to, I mentioned it before, but I'm going to go back to it again. Our mission, rapid response, high customer satisfaction, and valuable insights. That is, it's paramount, right? And we tie those metrics again from a rapid response standpoint. We go back to that request or wait time and how long things sit there, and of course, customer satisfaction. But on the other side, from a valuable insights, use the data that you have to provide feedback to product. Every bit of that needs to go back to our product. My product leader, my EVP of product hounds me all the time. What are our customers saying? What are our customers saying? And that's where from our customer experience leader, I was telling somebody yesterday, she is our supervisor of the customer experience. and she manages every bit of us, from support to product to engineering to every facet of the company. She oversees that, and she loves looking at how often is our help center used. Is it leading into ticket deflection? Are we actually giving the experience that we need for our customers? And how do we extract that? So, effort score, customer satisfaction, NPS, those are really the three things that we measure the most. And we collaborate on them on a weekly basis.
That's actually a good segue. I have a question in the chat here, which says, obviously you mentioned reviewing your CSAT scores every day. And I think you mentioned talking, about your product leader who's encouraging those customer conversations and transparency. But someone is asking, what advice would you have for teams to encourage their leaders, or maybe not necessarily doing this all the time?
It's one of those things that, from a leadership standpoint, my product leader wants to have the best product out there, right? We want to lead in the marketplace. We want to do the right things from a consumer standpoint. So he knows that there's value that I have. Now, how did he know that there's value I have? I am very transparent, and I share that with him constantly, right? From a support standpoint, I need him from a product perspective. I need the product teams to drive efficiencies in the product so that by the time I'm supporting it, it's a no-brainer. It's easy peasy, right? And there's a lot to go into that. It's hard to develop a product, but it's also just as difficult to develop the supportability into it. So my biggest advice is be as transparent and vocal as you can. Make sure that you extract the data and willingly give it out to all people involved. Let them see, and let your customers be heard, because you're on the front lines. From a transparency standpoint, I literally hand it out to everybody like candy and let them consume as much as they can. But on the other side, I also consult with them. Here's what the customers are saying.
Making it more of a collaborative culture where you're bringing this in on a regular basis with the different cross-functional stakeholders that you're meeting with, and just kind of bringing the data to them, I think could just change that to start. I do have a very specific question that's come up twice now on reducing the TAT of doc prescription and health plans that are powered through AI app Zyla, improving the CX and NPS.
That one I'm not really familiar with. That sounds very, very specific, and I apologize for that one.
Insight with using Zyla or any experience reducing the TAT of doc prescription health plans, but it sounds like maybe not.
Yeah, and we're definitely, from an AI ML standpoint, there's our president, Aaron Kelly, we were talking about this the other day. AI and ML is in everything. But at the end of the day, it's a cool thing. It's a cool thing to see. But at the end of the day, what do the customers actually need, right? From an artificial intelligence standpoint, if it is AI from a data mining perspective that you truly need, what is the outcome that you're trying to get to? And let's build that. So, he's basically informed us of how to work backwards from that point of, I need this. We need a bot to help us analyze this data. We're drowning in a sea of data. I call it data blindness. Many things are underway. But AI and ML, don't let it fool you too much, but it is helpful. Augmented our another company, I won't mention their name, but they talk about bionic support and having that assistant help. Why not? We can all use it.
Yeah. This other question that keeps coming up, and I know you and I have actually talked about this. There are many other solutions out there we've had experience working with.
Yep.
You obviously have seen a lot of success with Zendesk. At a high level, without getting us into the weeds, what has been your experience with Zendesk versus some of the other solutions out there?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's every solution I see in the comments here, all the other solutions out there I've actually implemented at other companies. So I have firsthand experience with those competitors to Zendesk. But I will tell you, going back from kind of to frame it up, if you go back to 2020, pandemic hit, all of us are going home. I had multiple CRMs. I had Salesforce, I had Remedy, and the other ones that are mentioned there. And at the end of the day, I had to make a quick decision. Zendesk was already my choice because of the agility And to be honest with you, from an administration standpoint, I've administered those other systems. Zendesk allowed me to be like a Ferrari. I could get in here, I could manipulate things. And we hit experiment and learn rapidly is one of our values. If you want to see our values, modernagile.org, they're out there. It's not, we've just adopted them, but experiment and learn rapidly. We had to do that in the moment. All of my team was going home. We were shifting our business models, getting more into virtual health visits. And I needed a platform that could handle that. And every single day we were iterating like crazy. And the administrative tools, being an administrator for most of my career and in support, the administrative tools by Zendesk are the easiest and most flexible I have ever seen. And especially with the API connections, it is almost limitless on what I've been able to do with it. So from an innovation standpoint, Zendesk has helped me be as innovative as I absolutely could imagine.
I love that. And I couldn't agree more. I think the word I used with you when we last met was being on the train towards a frictionless software.
Yes. I do remember that. And I love that. And that's our job as leaders. We've got to remove friction from our team, right? And that's how we get rapid response. Something's not working today. Hey, change it. And we've almost innovated too quickly. We have to think about it a little bit. So think before you act, but otherwise, yeah, the capability's there. It's amazing.
I love that. We do have one more question. It's a lot of interactivity here, which is great. Something around driving more engagement with regards to survey results. How do you achieve higher response rates for some of those that might be struggling to get that customer feedback?
Yeah, that's something. I actually have an anomaly there. I've never had this high of a response rate before, and I think the anomaly is really our user base, right? And it's a simple survey approach. It's not the Likert survey. It's the thumbs up, thumbs down. It makes it easy, and the fact that Zendesk chose that method from a thumbs up, thumbs down standpoint in comments, and then from a negative standpoint, we do have the Likert survey if they choose a negative comment, just to give us a little trajectory on where those surveys are. But with all due respect to everybody on the invite here, mine's kind of a unique situation. My survey response is through the roof, but I also think the seed that goes into that is the way I run my business, the way my team operates. We are hungry for transparency. We want our customers to really tell us what's going on. And I think the reason why we get the high response rate that we get, every single survey that comes in, both good and bad, if there's comments in there, we follow up. That's hard to do from a scalability standpoint, especially if you have massive amount of tickets. Our tickets per month, is around 4,000 to 6,000. So our volume's a little smaller. We're a little bit more nimble in that sense. But if you put the effort into follow-up, people realize that you actually care about the survey response you get, they're going to be more vocal in that regards. And we follow through with every single one of them.
And we just got one last quick question before we start to wrap up here in about a few minutes. Do you have any advice on getting some of the detractors back to promoters? As they say, retention is cheaper than acquisition.
Yes, from a detractor standpoint, it is one-on-one conversations with those individuals. It really does come down to, I heard you in this case, Natasha, I heard you, I heard what you said, and then proving it. Make the change. You've got to make the change. You've got to be transparent. It can't be false. Yes, I heard you. Thank you for your survey. Have a wonderful day. No, you got to have passion. You got to have heart, and let them see that. Let them know that you heard them and actually follow through with the response. That's really the best way to do it. And all throughout my career, that is the way I've saved many, many accounts. Actually put your words into action.
I love that. Before I ask you my final question, I just wanted to point out to everybody the survey link that we have here in the chat to continue to give us your feedback on these awesome conversations and CX moments. We do have one more coming up with Neo Financial, so please take a look at that. But Brian, my last question to you is, what's next for you as you are thinking about your overall care strategy for Inovalon?
Absolutely. One of the things that we're going to really work on is innovation, right? Going back to a Lean Six Sigma content or video I watched the other day, The answer should be where the question is being asked. Simple as that. We are being asked the questions inside of Zendesk. I have my level 3 person, Ryan, working on all sorts of API connections. We want to be able to answer those questions right there where it's being asked. And then we also have a collaboration going on with Gainsight PX. And between Zendesk and Gainsight PX, we actually use both tools to interact with the user right there in the moment. So my vision right now is innovation, answer the question where it's being asked, and close that gap.
Anything with employee onboarding?
Yes, from an employee onboarding, that is another thing. Thanks for the reminder that our HR department got so excited about how we use Zendesk, and they want to improve the employee onboarding experience. So we're actually in the process of implementing that here this coming up in July. So I'm really excited to see our HR team embrace, and they're going to integrate with multiple HR tools on there. But as an employee myself, I can't wait to interact with it, and the live chat and being able to interact with somebody from HR and get your answers fast. Yeah, we're definitely getting an upgrade.
How exciting for you, because you've built this entire culture at Inovalon around care and support that's mostly been towards nurses and patients. And now you get to do it, for your internal use cases with collaboration with HR for your employees. So they all kind of get that same like high quality experience. And, again, you're driving that retention.
Yeah, employee intention. I mean, if you think about it, when you start with a company, you want a great experience, right? Again, rapid response. We're going to stand up an HR help center so they can do self-service. And the more API integrations we're having a lot of fun interacting with those APIs just to answer the question where it's being asked.
Yeah.
And that's, if you think about it, where the question is being asked is where the answer should lie. And Zendesk is making that possible for us.
Well, we're honored. We love having you as a partner and a customer. Truly enjoy working with you, Brian. And, we really enjoyed the time that we had with you today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Natasha. And I'm glad I was one of the people that got to meet you when you first came on.
Me too. You're one of the first people I got to meet, I think, in the same week on Zoom and then in person. So
absolutely
glad that we got to come full circle here. And to everyone who joined us from all over the world today, thank you so much for taking time to listen in, being part of a CX moment. We look forward to having you join us for the next one. Have a great day.
Good to see everybody from around the world. Stay cool. It's hot here in Texas.